Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope y'all are doing well and enjoying your day so far, and welcome to the third video of the day. Crone has been dropping some absolute nukes on the timeline. We're going to be diving into 3 key Rostermania rumours today for the upcoming CDL 2022 season. Anything else that follows, I'll do a full breakdown on tomorrow morning. Very much intriguing your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Already on the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that. On the verge now of 70,000 subscribers. It's absolutely beautiful stuff. This, firstly from Methods, going to be tough for Zinni to get a spot back in the league. As he says here, no friends in the industry. Tough to say what this means, but it will, of course, for Challengers players right now in general, it's tough to get a spot, as we looked at just a few hours ago in the second video of the day. But well, some Challenger players are definitely getting their opportunity in the league, at least according to the rumours we're going to dive into here over the coming minutes. So this firstly from Methods. This I thought was also kind of interesting. A few of you guys pointing out to me that in Shotzzy's stream, Formula comes in, OpTic Formula, donates $3 and says something along the lines of, you know, like, I can't wait to see you guys in OpTic or whatever. Hey man, thanks to you and all this stuff. I'll be retiring and taking your mum on dates. Happy to have you in OpTic though, man. But of course, as you will well know, Formal is, well, Formal's Twitch is just /Formal, and OpTic Formal, I imagine, is some sort of fake impersonator account. So don't worry about this. But then again, we're probably going to get this whole OpTic Dallas thing confirmed in the coming days regardless, at least to how things are trending at the present time and the players that we are seeing get onto different teams. This was very interesting for the Mutineers though. Today we are parting ways with our coach Ricky Atura. Pretty much everyone seems to say Atura is a great coach for them. So really interesting to see this, because not too long ago now we saw Revan depart from the subliners. It was unclear whether that was if he was doing or whether that was the subliners deciding to do that themselves. So maybe Revan's going to Mutineers. I don't really know. If that's a decision off his back, it's kind of an interesting one, right? Because you'd imagine that New York were more contenders than the Mutineers were. But yeah, not really sure what Florida are doing right here. Like if they're getting rid of Atura, you'd imagine they've got someone else lined up to come into the team as a coach. Maybe it's a Loony or something. It's somewhat tough to say. But it will still, Atura, I'm sure he can find a spot somewhere else. Some coaching shuffles, I imagine, going to continue here in the league. These types of things that can get confirmed ahead of September the 5th, where the players can start getting signed officially and announcements can start to come out, and then things really are going to hit the fan. This also from Paris, very interesting, because all the talk has been these last couple of weeks that Paris are going to sell their spot, they're going to go elsewhere. Like I was kind of hoping earlier today it would be Madrid, right, to come in and swoop this spot up. Then they come out with this. We're rolling from day one this time. We're thrilled to announce Theory, and we've retained as coach for our 2022 CDL campaign. Welcome back. So kind of strange they would do this if they're on the side also going to be selling their spot and getting the hell out of it, right? So kind of strange. Maybe it's not happening at all, but still there have been a lot of things pointing towards that direction, right? We saw, of course, the trademark disappearing for Paris Legion, so I'm not really sure what's going on. I guess they're not going to say on the timeline that you know, getting rid of their, you know, they're deciding to leave the CDL or whatever, get rid of their spot and sell it to somebody else, but it still could indeed happen, right? Because even last year, TJ was on OpTic Game in Los Angeles, they kind of re-signed him and then sold their spot to LA Thieves, and that kind of carried over there. Maybe something similar here for Theory this time, whatever happens with that spot over the coming weeks. Let's dive then into the Rostermania rumours for today's video. We've got 3 of them. We've got London Royal Ravens, we've got Seattle Surge, and we've got the Los Angeles Guerrillas. What a team that could potentially be. First of all though, London, I'm really excited about the potential of this team. We've talked about for a while now, Afro, you've got to build around him. Who's the perfect potential SMG to get alongside him? Probably a guy like Nasty from the European scene. There is so much untapped potential in the European region. It's great to see London actually going down the route, right, and saying, okay, we're going to pair Afro, like Afro and Zero, honestly, like they get along really well. I've seen them play a load of like league play, and I think they were even teaming in Challengers when Zero was in Challengers this season with the unfortunate situation. He was meant to be on London at the start of this year, and unfortunately things went wrong with the visas. Nasty was in a similar spot. They've tried to get him out to the States now, maybe a couple of times, or at least once, and it hasn't worked out. They've had to drop him off the team, and they've wanted Nasty for quite some time. So thankfully, they're going to get him now. Zero is one of the greatest players out of Europe to ever do it, to be honest. Banter's probably just about surpassed him once again this year, but up until that point, Zero was certainly the number one, I think, in the European region for his achievements over many a year. So he can also do it with any role. That's the great thing about Zero. Like, he can be a flex, he can be a main AR, he can even be an SMG if needed. Probably not going to be required this time, though, with Nasty and Afro on those roles. I think they can be a very scary SMG duo if Zero can kind of, well, if he can be a great leader on this team. That's what it needs to be. If Zero can be a great leader, and Gizmo as well is someone else to mention. If you guys don't follow the European Challenger scene too closely, you might not have heard of this guy, but definitely considered one of the top prospects in terms of assault rifle talent in this region. So, of course, Zero had a tough time on the subliners, then into London last year, came 4th at the World Championship in that 5v5 situation, had a really tough time, couldn't even get up to the States this season to compete, so really difficult stuff. London, hopefully that season was just kind of an anomaly with visa-related issues, and now they're going to be back to a full force, because I really do think this season can be incredibly competitive if these teams will match up as it looks like they will indeed do over these coming days and weeks. Gizmo as well, who teamed with Nasty, dominated dominating the second half of the year. So couple of duos there, really. Zero and Afro, Gizmo and Nasty. The AR combo of Gizmo and Zero, however they want to do that, Nasty and Afro on the SMGs, that can certainly be something to keep your eyes on going forward. It's not, I think a lot of people will look at this team and think maybe it's not so scary, but these are very talented players that really could put up a bit of a fight. And to be fair, Seattle Surge are going for a relatively similar build in terms of their roster. They're going for also like a veteran talent in Zero, in accuracy, right here for the Seattle Surge. At least right now, of course, look, these are all rumors, things could change, but Crone probably wouldn't put these out unless he was pretty certain that's what these teams are doing right now. So things could still change, things could switch up and players could go elsewhere, but more than likely, this is what is in the works at the present time. So they're going for a similar thing. Seattle Surge, of course, an awful couple of seasons, and also they've had to pay so much money for these players they decided to sign that finally they're going to tone down those contracts somewhat, I imagine, this year, and maybe spend a little bit less money than they had to, and probably get better results. Interesting team though. So in the same way that London are going 0 and 3 kind of rookie players, even though Afro did play the latter half of this year, similar thing really here. Accuracy comes in, teaming with Mac, who of course has had a good couple of seasons on New York, but nothing incredible. I guess he's going to be the flex on this team, depending on how he wants to do it. Pred has been hyped up for a couple of years now from the Australian region, really promising young SMG talent, in very much the same boat as Hydra, who has gone on to do great things in the league, but also Afro and Nasty, the two players that are now going to be teaming up on London. So Pred, I think, has a huge amount of potential. I think it's certainly something certainly a player that I'm very much interested in keeping my eyes on, because if he can do the same thing as Hydra, this team can be scary. Pairing him with Sib, that seems like an incredible combo of talent, at least on the team. Now look, at the end of the day, Sib has his question marks around him, like how level-headed is he as an individual? Does he get on great with some of the veteran heads and even the younger guys in the scene as well? The Sib is the big question mark for me on this team. I think the rest of the guys can work quite well together. I think Accuracy is a good player to lead a team, but he's not going to be the nastiest main AR in the game. At the same time though, you look at what Atlanta FaZe do, and Arcitys is running around with like a 71 on the Lion Man card, dropping like just over a 1.0, and he doesn't really have to do all that much, to be honest, right? The rest of the guys run the show. Maybe Accuracy's thinking, let's just do a similar thing right here, and to be fair, he's a very clutch player, and it comes up clutch time and time again. So some discussion here with Phoenix apparently going to be their coach. He's he's coached players like Paul X, Venom, Zaptius, and John in previous seasons, Inside and Clinics, even in their world debut back into Black Ops 4, of course, on Singularity. And it looks like they're going to get Pred. They're going to get Mac, it seems, actually, as their second SMG player, as Crone points out right here. So usually he's on an AR, but apparently he's going to go back to being an SMG, which is kind of interesting. I think he's maybe better suited to an AR. So Sib's going to come in and potentially be the flex on the roster, and then Accuracy is going to be that main AR, of course, after Sib was, almost going to get on New York this season, and then that fell through. The final roster we're going to dive into today, this is a pretty spectacular one, I think, from the Los Angeles Guerrillas. This is the squad of 4 they're going for. SlasheR coming in. Already, this is, it's piqued my attention, let's just say. I've been talking about this for a few days now, before I knew this roster was going to be the case, that SlasheR plus Gunless, plus a couple of SMGs, could be a great way to go. That's what it seems like they're going to do. Also, Los Angeles Guerrillas is perfect for SlasheR. They've got a lot of money, they've got a pretty high potential brand reputation in Los Angeles. That's obviously a pretty good thing. Also, SlasheR's got the potential to get his revenge on Los Angeles Thieves next year, and if Octane joins LA Thieves, then, it's just perfect, right? Everything comes together as we may well expect it to for Thanos. So, of course, SlasheR and Gunless, cracking duo back in the day on Rise Nation in World War II. They had so much success with SlasheR as the main AR, Gunless as the second AR. Then you've got to find 2 SMG players. Huke would be an absolutely massive pickup. If they can get Huke, this is already a cracking team, because I think SlasheR and Huke, they've of course had their ups and downs over their career, but still, Huke is certainly one of the most talented players in the league. And if you get him on his top form and when things start going on behind the scenes and having issues, then he can be an absolute threat to deal with for other teams. Now, Asim is apparently going to be rounding out this roster. This is kind of interesting, because we've seen a lot of the other SMG duos we've just run through, right? That they have a lot of slaying power, a lot of potential on paper in theory, and Huke and Asim are certainly right up there, but maybe not as high powered, you could argue, as some of these other SMG lines in the league. You look at Atlanta FaZe, you're thinking, okay, could Asim be could you get better than Asim? It's somewhat tough to say. I think Asim could be a very valuable player for a team. I'm happy he's getting a shot. This team makes a fair bit of sense, but you could argue that maybe there were other players that made also a fair bit of sense coming into this lineup. As Crone points out right here, Vivid was another name that the Guerrillas approached. According to sources, it's unclear how far those discussions went. Vivid, of course, played for the Guerrillas the last 2 seasons. It might make sense for him to go back there, but maybe they don't want him, to be honest, given all the drama that's happened most recently. But a highly skilled role like Asim is hard to come by in this league. So excited that Asim is getting his spot in this league. And this discussion right here as well after, who got a most difficult season as well. So very exciting squad. What do you guys think about these 3 teams? I think on paper, this is probably the scariest obvious one. SlasheR, Gunless, Huke, already you're talking, and in terms of like incredible slaying power. And Gunless also can be very competent on an SMG. He's not just great on the AR and on that kind of flex roll. He was really, really good with the PPSH way back in World War II. And I think like if needed 3 SMGs, Gunless can certainly do it. This year he was great when he pulled out a 74U. This squad is scary. Asim probably nicely rounds out the team. He can be the entry guy for Huke, and he can make that work over there and still drop decent numbers as well. And despite maybe other players could have been in contention, I'm happy Asim's getting a shot right here if this does indeed go through. And this squad immediately is very scary. We could have a Gorillas, a London, and a Seattle Surge, all with, well, some serious potential going into next year. Very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. This just to finish off with from Crone. Reminder that deals cannot be made until the 5th of September. These rosters aren't officially locked in, and things could still change. And well, just to finish off with this from Wester, the return, let's do it again. Potentially, some of these players not making it in the league so far are, well, going to make their return here into the Wester scene and, well, to dominate challenges as they did at the start of last title. Very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. Really helps out the YouTube algorithm. I know you enjoy this content. I hope people like you may enjoy this content as well, and I grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.